Hello everyone, how are you? This is Gastón from Gastón campus in North Miami Beach, Florida. And hope you can hear me. Sure that we can hear each other. 1 second. Hello everyone. Well, it seems that this works, so this is good. I hope you're doing great, everyone. So let's just relax for a second. Let's be sure we are, before we even get to study and to meditate, even to relax, we need to relax, we need to breathe and be sure that we are in the moment. So I will ask you just to pay attention only to your breathing and just don't discard the distractions. You can invite them to be part of it, but don't really pay so much attention to it and don't go with your distractions. Just really let this be a journey. So I will start just with a very simple breathing. Just breathe as you normally do. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes and just relax and pay attention to your breathing. And every time that distraction comes, say hello distraction, hello thought. I'm going just to put it aside for a second and then we'll talk about a little bit about that too. So right now, just breathe as you normal would do. Just think about this amazing breathing, the oxygen that you're breathing into your nose and then releasing through your mouth. We're going to get new ideas and new fresh air and the idea of being present right now, this idea of mindfulness, and our teacher and friend Gedalia Fenster says, this is a mindful or is mind full of things, right? So we want it to be a mindful moment. We don't want to have all our mind full of things, and we're going to try to go back to those things later that we don't need right now. So breathe, easy breathing. Let's breathe one more time. I heard over there on Facebook that someone wants to do one more time with that beautiful exhale. One more little time. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we like this. And so I want to for you to do, if you have next to you a pen, and you have next to you even a napkin, whether you are right now, having lunch or whatever, whether you have a little piece of paper, anything you have to write on. Even you can do it on your hand, as people sometimes like to do it when we used to be at school, and to not forget things. And that's what we want to do right now. We're going to, this is an exercise that helps so much. And what you can do, this was taught to me by my colleague Diego Edelberg, and I think he learned from Ari Ben David or somewhere. But you're going to put here all the thoughts that you have right now, everything that you have, and keep the paper. We're going to use it for another exercise later. So put everything that you have in your mind right now, okay? Anything, what you have right now, and you're going to write it here. I give you 1 minute to write it. Right now, starting, go. Okay, so here's my list, okay? And I'm going to put it as, I'm going to say to this, I value you. I love that you are in my mind and you're feeling my mind right now. But now I'm going to take a moment of my life. I'm going to relax. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to meditate, hopefully, and I'm going to get a little more connected to my spirituality. So I'm going to go back later to this. So we put it aside, and now we are here. That's why also we call this mindfulness Shabbat. So every time, even if you don't have a piece of paper, but you have you are at the synagogue, or anything that you do in your life, right? This is about no multitasking, trying not to multitask. I know we think it's you're a hero when you multitask, but it's not per se what usually happens. When you multitask, you don't even give a few percentage of each of the activities that you're doing. So you want to be mindful of your time and be present. And say, as we say in Hebrew, Hineni. That means I'm here. When God called Abraham, he says Hineni, and he said it twice, and he called it, he says Hineni. Every time that God calls and they respond Hineni, it's not even Hineni once, it's Hineni twice. Probably one to say to God, and the other one parts to kind of like corroborate to yourself Hineni, and the other one says Hineni. So you say, am I here? Am I prepared? Yes, I'm here. So that's what you want to do every time that you are prepared for doing anything in your life, anything, whether it's a call, whether it's writing a letter, whether it's cooking, whether it's watching TV, even just speaking with your children, your parents, your spouse, studying, responding an email, anything that you do, try to do it with full percentage of mindfulness, of presence. And this is a good exercise. So hopefully it helps. So let's get started with the new one that I like so much, that we have been singing in the past Shabbatot or pre-Shabbatot. So it says, Ki imcha mekor chaim, ki imcha mekor chaim. That's how it starts. Ki imcha mekor chaim, ve'orcha nir'e or. That means that we connect with this fountain of source, the source of life, which is God. Then we can use his spotlight to be able to discern, to have better capacities to see the light and to see with more clarity, to unblind, and to see what they call in spirituality the third eye. Kimcha mekor chaim ve'orcha nireo. Kimcha mekor chaim ve'orcha nireo. Kimecha mekor chaim ve'orcha nireor. Kimcha mekor chaim ve'orcha nireor. I want to share with you something very, very important, that in the past few weeks, a lot of people whose Spanish is their main tongue, their main language, they asked me if we could kind of replicate or use this to use, to have a class or to have the mindfulness Shabbat, to have this space also in Spanish. So I consulted with my rabbis and the lay people, and they decided that we are going to do it. So at 2 o'clock today, and every Friday will be 12 p.m. will be English, and at 2 p.m. will be in Espanol. And today we have a great guest, and it is my wife, Marcela Gomez-Bogomolni, and we're going to be sharing another shiur, another session of mindfulness on a different topic related to the parasha as well. So this parasha is only one. We have two parashiot combined. We have two portions of the Torah of the week, the weekly portion. They are combined right now, and there are two of them. One is Matot, and one is Masei. So Matot talks about the tribes, and I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to talk about Matot today. I'm going to talk about Masei. I'm going to talk about Masei. Masei means the journeys of. So, right, Masai is the journey. Masei of Bnei Israel is the journey of the people of Israel. And Masai will be my journey, right? And today we're going to talk a little about journeys. And I want to share with you, first of all, and for those who might know me, don't know me, but I was born in Argentina, and I never really traveled outside of Argentina, probably by car. Of course, I did it, to Uruguay. It's very common that Argentinians might go to Uruguay, and then I remember also I went on a bus, to Brazil. So these are the countries. Like if you're in the United States, you might go to Mexico, you might go to Canada, and visit kind of the countries that are on the border, but I never really took a plane, an airplane. A real aircraft until I was 18 years old. So everything I've done was really on the road, and I had this desire, that sometimes maybe to have, this to travel, and so at age of 18, for the first time in my life, I took an airplane, and this airplane took me to a very beautiful place. And no other than Israel. Yes, my first trip on an airplane was to Israel, and it was very cool. Of course, it was the first time I went to Israel, and also it was the first time that I took an aircraft, and also it was the first time in my life. And you will imagine, I was in Jerusalem and I saw for the first time snow. I didn't know that was going to be then like a premonition, or like even like a prediction of that I was going to live 14 years in the snow when I lived in Nebraska and was in Boston, Massachusetts. But what I want to tell you is that once I took that airplane, I never, and for a long time, ceased to travel and to take planes. As a matter of fact, with my wife, we counted in June of 2016, I took literally 40 aircraft, 40 airplanes for one reason or another. And it was just insane thinking that actually some people might relate to me saying, no, as my wife was saying, you know, this guy is on an airplane all the time. I mean, you would think that actually I'm not working. I do work, but I visit my kids, of course, who live in Massachusetts. And so I lived in Argentina. After Israel, I traveled around Europe and then came back to Argentina. And less than a year after that, I was invited to work in the Dominican Republic. And then I was hired, and I worked there in the Dominican Republic, first in the north, in Sosúa, Puerto Plata. And then I worked in Santo Domingo. After that, after almost 3 years of being in the Dominican Republic, I went back to Argentina, thinking I was going to go and work in Chile. But then it was an opportunity to interview for a job in Barcelona. And then I interviewed for that job, but all my belongings went back to Argentina. And I was really thinking, and I was getting some offers, you know, even in Bogota and Ecuador and other places. And then I ended up in Barcelona. And I lived in one little place, and then I lived in another place in Barcelona. Then I met the mother of my kids, and then we moved to the United States. And from the United States, we moved to different places, and then so on and so on, Nebraska, Massachusetts, and now I'm here. And in each of these places, we lived in different places, like in different houses and apartments. So since I'm here in Florida, I've been moving a lot. I'm not saying this because I want you to know me only, but also because it's related to the parasha of this week. So the parashas must say, these are my journeys. The one I just shared with you, those are my journeys. And there are different things about journeys. One of the things that is related to the journeys is that the journey of the people of Israel, if you read very well the parasha, it says that they went from here to the station to the station. And then that station is repeated in another station. And they counted those stations. They counted all the places where they had been, sometimes even for 12 hours, sometimes for a little longer than a few days. So each of the places all counted together is 42 places. Remember that number, 42 places. So it's very, 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 very important to remember that. Now, the Baal Shem Tov, who was the father of Hasidism, he says the Baal Shem Tov teaches that the 42 journeys in the wilderness from Egypt to Israel, right, from slavery to the real promised land, reflect the 42 journeys or phases that each person, each of us, experiences through life. So these are the journeys of the Israelites who had left Egypt. That's what it says in this portion, on the way to the promised land. All the 42 journeys are about freeing ourselves and transcending the constraints and limitations. Mitzrayim, remember, means limitations, narrowness, constraints of our material existence, which conceals the divine, subduing and making sublime the harsh wilderness of selfish existence and discovering the promised land, a life of harmony between the body and the soul. So I will repeat that all the 42 journeys of the people of Israel, they're not just about the stories. This can relate to us all the time, especially in our growth, in our spiritual growth, and people and human beings and creatures of God. So they're about freeing ourselves and transcending the limitations, the constraints, the Mitzrayim, the Egypt of us, or in us, within us, of our material existence, which conceals the divine. Subduing and making sublime the harsh wilderness of selfish existence, and discovering the promised land, which is for us in the spiritual realm, a life of harmony between body and soul. And these 42 journeys allow us to align. That's the whole idea. When you need harmony, you need to align our lives to the compass of a higher rhythm, as defined by the 42 journeys in the Torah, and actually create a strategy that rides and taps into these rhythms. So, what are these journeys? How do we align ourselves through these journeys in our lives to really get into the promised land, to a life of harmony between our body and the soul? Part of the difficulties that we have in life is that our body and our soul sometimes are not really connected. They're not synced. They are not synchronized. Sometimes our soul is kind of in exile. Sometimes our body is in exile, and we don't know. We talk about this all the time, right? Sometimes we just think with our lower part of the soul, with the nefesh, with the pleasures and everything we want in life. Sometimes we just think without being connected. We don't connect with our soul, then we just react as animals. We just react as regular people without the real spiritual engine that allows us to have a better life and live a life of connection all the time. I want to explain, I want to share a screen because I want to share with you how we can really connect and how do we use our spiritual mechanism, our spiritual methodology, right? And the tools that we have for spirituality, especially in Judaism, which is mainly explained through the Kabbalah and the mysticism, as we can all together learn. So I'm going to show you a video first that would explain how we function spiritually, how we can work and polish, and we can align. And we're talking about aligning, what we are aligning. What are we really talking about? So what is it inside us? What is in us, connected to the soul, talking about the spiritual realm? Every time that we meditate, what are we really doing sometimes? So for us, we need to understand, right? It's when you have the class of anatomy. So when you have a class of anatomy, then they explain to you how your body functions. So here is the beginning of how our spiritual tools work in our bodies. What are those elements? It's so important to know, what do you have? Once you know the tools you have and you understand each of these tools, that's how we can really start connecting better all the time. Even when we are not watching this shiurim, these sessions and these lessons, what we want is to really know how to connect. So let's start learning a little bit of that. I'm going to share the screen. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Hold it. Okay. Okay. Share the screen. There you go.
No sooner said than done. Man was created in his Creator's image, with his. In the beginning, God God decided to do the impossible, to create a finite, diverse universe within his infinite, indivisible self. God first created the mystical Sephirot, 10 divine channels through which his infinite light could be condensed, contracted, and then released as individualized attributes that could eventually give rise to a diversity of finite creations. Let us make man in our own image, said God. No sooner said than done. Man was created in his Creator's image, with his own internal set of 10 attributes through which he operates. These 10 spiritual attributes are reflected in the physical human anatomy. Let's go through them one by one. Sephira 1, Chachma. Chachma is the initial seed of an idea, the flash of undeveloped inspiration. It enables us to be creative, spiritual, transcendent. Sephira 2, Bina. Bina is the development of ideas. It enables us to be logical, analytical, organized. Sephira 3, Dot. Dot allows us to focus on an idea so that it becomes relevant and personally meaningful. It enables us to be attentive, principled, involved. Sephira 4, Chesed. Chesed is the power to love, share, and look kindly upon others. It enables us to be generous, optimistic, sociable. Sephira 5, Gevura. Gevura is the power of discipline and restraint. It enables us to be calculated, cautious, serious. Sephira 6, Tiferet. Tiferet is the power to empathize and to harmonize kindness with strictness based on the needs of others. It enables us to be balanced, empathetic, harmonious. Sephira 7, Netzach. Netzach is the power of determination to overcome challenge. It enables us to be persistent, forceful, daring. Sephira 8, Hod. Hod is the power of humility, gratitude, and submitting to a higher cause. It enables us to be thankful, devoted, accommodating. Sephira 9, Yesod. Yesod is the power to focus on others and to build genuine relationships. It enables us to be selfless, altruistic, loyal. And last, but not at all least, Sephira 10, Malchut. Malchut has multiple functions. It is the power of speech and action, effective communication and leadership, and to be receptive to others. It enables us to be leading, communicating, achieving. So there you have it, the 10 components of the human self. The internal mechanism upon which all intellect, emotion, and actions run. God used 10 Sephirot to create his universe, and we use our 10 Sephirot to shape our miniature universes.
So each of us are a mini universe, and each of us can shape our universe to make it a better I, a better you, and a better us. And that way we can also help to make a better world. So if I make a better me, and then I can probably help make a better surrounding who I am, me, my family, and my family can surround the community, the neighborhood, etc., and then my country, and then my city, etc., my country, and then the world. That's the way we can make a better world. So what can we learn from this mosaic, from these journeys? So I want to bring you, now that you learned about the Sephirot, these emanations, now, and each of them what they are and what is the capacity of them. Most of the times these are the Sephirot are divided in different ways. So you have the upper Sephirot, as you have them there, the three, kind of that triangle, and then you have two more triangles, right? So specifically, there are many relationships between the Sephirot, because it's you, it's your world, it's your universe, your mini universe. So of course there is relationship between this and everything else that you that you touch and then you live through and surrounds you. So in Judaism, all the holidays are also, this is of course according to Kabbalah and mysticism, this is, your mini universe is related not only to who you are and how affects, you know, your persona and your character traits, but also how you relate to the rest of Judaism. And that's the way also you can relate to the rest of the world. So Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Hanukkah, you'll start reading. When you start reading and we start talking about those holidays, you'll see how much this idea of the Sefirot comes back all the time in order to present what is the relationship. Now, the Torah is not, you know, it's not less than any of that. So there is a relationship between each of the book of the Torah, right? Each of the Sfarim of the Torah, and with each of these Sefirot. So the book of Breshit, as you can see there, it's related to Breshit. So Breshit is related to Keter. Shemot is related to Chokhmah. Then Leviticus is related to Binah. The book of Bamidbar, which is the book we have been reading all these past weeks, and Matot Masei, these two parshiyot, these two portions are the portions that we are now concluding. These are the ones that conclude the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. It relates to all these six, right? These two lower triangles that you see there. You might not remember this name, but it's called Zeir Anpin, in a way, kind of like a, you know, lower face. And those six Sefirot, those six emanations are the ones that relate to the full book of Bamidbar. Bamidbar can be translated as the desert, can be translated also as the wilderness. And the last one, the Varim, is related to the Sefirah of Malchut. And Malchut, as you heard, is everything that we do, all our work that we do is manifested and materialized in Malchut, which is this world, what we see, right? Everything that we can touch, see, is the material aspect of this world. So now that you understand this, you might think, whoa, my God, the book of Bamidbar is all related to these six emanations. There's a lot of work to do there, right? And why is it that it's related? And that's what we're going to talk about. So what does it mean really to make a trip? What does it mean to really travel? What does it mean to be in a journey? The Jewish people were in a journey throughout the wilderness. And throughout the wilderness, they had to work on all those aspects of this Sefirot, as you heard in the video, of Chesed, loving kindness, of Gvura, and Tiferet, and Netzach, and Od, and Yesod, because working on all those six Sefirot, sometimes called the Sefirot of the emotions, the character traits, those are the ones that we need to balance. Sometimes we are having so much loving kindness, you know, and then we forget to balance it out with the Gevurah, which is more strictness, a little more of discipline, right? And sometimes we are so disciplined, and but we are not even, you know, thinking about the other, and because it's all we, you know, it's kind of difficult. So Tiferet will be the one on that triangle that will allow us to bring equilibrium, to bring balance between Chesed and Gevurah. Same thing happened with Yesod, Hod, and Netzach, with that triangle over there. We need to work on those things. As a matter of fact, when we are in the Omer, you know, counting of the Omer, remember it's 7 of 7 weeks. So we do count, you know, not only count the Omer, but we work on each of aspects of this Sefirot. And believe it or not, to make it more complicated for all of you, that Sefirah, for example, of Chesed, inside of that has also these emanations. It has these tree, these Sefirot, distant Sefirot, are called the tree of life. Don't get confused with the other tree of life that sometimes we see in the synagogue. This is called in Kabbalah the tree of life, the Etz HaChaim. Each of those emanations, each of those Sefirot that you have there, have their own tree of life inside. So, for example, the aspect of loving kindness alone, just on that Sefirah, which is on my right arm over here, right, as you see in the picture, that Sefirah allows me to work on loving kindness, but I have loving kindness alone. Then I have also what is called the gevurah of chesed, the discipline in the loving kindness, right? Then I have the tiferet, this splendor, this blossoming, right? In a way, the splendor is a good word, I think, of the chesed, right? What is the splendor of the loving kindness? So what is the victory of the loving kindness? What is the thankfulness of the loving kindness? What is my creation of loving kindness? So each of them have their own aspect within that same sephira. Don't worry if you don't understand right now. It's less complicated than it might seem. But the whole idea is that we are, as humans, we are always, most of the time, we are driven by our emotions. So the Kabbalah and Judaism, allows you to have the opportunity to work on those emotions, to detect where actually I'm a little more kind of like imbalanced, all of a sudden I feel like I'm so rigid and I'm so disciplined, right? And I need to work on those things in order to balance it out. So the Jewish people throughout the journeys, starting from the departing of slavery, from the exodus, from Mitzrayim, from the constraints, from the limitations, to free their soul, because that's what it was captured, right? To free their soul, liberation. That's what we really, in a way, also celebrate on Pesach, is the freedom of our soul to be liberated from Mitzrayim. From there until going to Israel, the promised land, that sense of stage of harmony between body and soul, we need to work on so many things. And throughout the desert, we know how many stuff the Jewish people had through the wilderness. So now let's focus on you. What is your wilderness? How is your wilderness? What is the photo album? Can you place your photo album of your journeys? And that's the journey of the soul as well. Can you place it? Can you just even imagine all the different places you've been? If you lived also, you have lived in different countries and different cities and different houses. Can you really think about? Can you open up in your mind the photo album of those experiences? That's why, if now I'm going to reveal a huge revelation here, which is the 42 counted places, stations that the Jewish people have been, really, that is narrated in the beginning of this parasha. 42. Let's do counting. I like math. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And how many? Very good. 7 sephirot that we have on the lower part. So each of them times 7 is 42. That means that these 42 journeys are not just regular journeys. This is not a stam, as they call in Hebrew, like just a regular number. This is a very important number. So that means that in order for us to get to the stage of harmony, to get to the real promised land, to our promised land, is that we need to work on all those aspects of our lives. I'm going to read some quotes, and after that, I think we are going to understand a little more, and then we're going to do a fine and very final meditation about our journey that hopefully will help you out. So one of the things is that the Kabbalist says that we usually, when we travel so much, and every place that we go, we are there to collect a divine spark, a spark of divinity, something about our soul that is collecting. You see, like the video games, sometimes they need to collect stuff, to create a whole, an entire something. So here is a little bit what they say as well. That is no coincidence that I was born in Argentina, now I'm living in the United States, and I went through all these different countries, and from those different countries, all different places, there is no, in each of those places, according to the mysticism, the Jewish mysticism, I was there to collect something about me. I was there for my soul to repair. That's what I mean, right? That's what I meant. You know, it's a tikkun. They're talking about repairing something, fixing something. There's something in my soul that needed that place, that language, that environment, the people around me, that specific place where I lived, the people that I met, the people I married, the people I divorced, you know, the children I had, etc., etc., and the jobs that I had, and the car I have, and all those things are the ones that allows your soul to repair. That's for one hand. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov has different opinions also about, you know, what it means to really travel. So he says these are the travels of the children of Israel. These are the journeys, right? So he says that to travel means really to have it equals for him for lack of faith. So what does he mean, you know, about that? And he says that the lack of faith is idolatry, right? When you don't believe in God, it's like you are believing in something else. Yeah, you believe in money, you believe in, you know, your faith is manifested in a different way, right? So I believe, yes, you can believe in a lot of things, but when you don't have God with you and you don't have faith in God, then you are having, that's what he said, or as idolatry. And of course, there are different reasons why to travel, but he says that the lack of faith and this idolatry takes you to a stage of exile. That means take you to be exiled. And what does it mean? So if the person doesn't have faith in God, I'm quoting from him here, which God, according to you know, will allow you, will provide you with all the necessities, all the needs that you need, especially wherever you are, right? That means that if I would have had, according to what I'm reading, if I would have had probably more faith before I left Argentina, probably I would have said, I'm going to stay here because that's where I am. That's where God will provide me everything. Why do I need to look for a better you know, well-being and a better, for looking for prosperity or to looking for a better life in other countries? That is not the one that I was born. So if you believe that God will provide you with all the needs that you have in the place you are, there is no reason why to travel, you know, to get more, you know, to get the parnasa in a different place. So he says that a journey, right? Traveling indicates there's an index there of a harm and also a break, a bridge into a faith. And that's what he said again, it's that we call idolatry. So have those things in mind. He says, nonetheless, when the person goes into a journey, he can rectify, he can fix that faith that was broken. And even more, the broken faith, you know, makes the exile, right? That's what makes exile. But no exile only just here, exile also in the upper worlds, in the other dimensions, in the other realms, because the divine presence goes to exile because of the sins that we do, because of our decisions. So because of our decisions, we have lack of faith, and the divine presence called the Shekhinah, right? I mean, just go into exile. So through this exile, through my journey, through me moving to another place, through that process, the person can rectify, can fix, in a way, correct the exile of the Shekhinah. So I made a mistake, right? I create this lack of faith. But even it's a very important concept. Even through that journey, that I have caused the Shekhinah to live, in that journey, in that new place that I go, I can also rectify. So it's not like I lost everything and I don't serve anything in this world and I go to, move into a trash can. Even with that move, I can rectify and make the divine presence, the Shekhinah, to come back from exile and come back and have it present in my life. And that's a very, very important thing. So the thing is, what is it that you have to do when you are in a journey, to rectify? What is it that you need to fix and how do you do it? Well, you can think about different things, right? In few words, just need to be a good person, right? In a few words, you gotta be a mensch, right? Do tzedakah, pray, care about others, do social action, work on yourself so you can love people, right? So stop the hatred, do something for this world, for the society, help everyone. Any opportunity that you have to put your hands on, right? So you can help with money, you can help with time, you can help with wisdom, you can help with knowledge. So that's what you do. You bring the light. And that's what the people of Israel also did. As they were rectifying throughout the desert, they were fighting the evil forces. We're talking about spirituality here, so I don't think like this guy, They were really facing all the time, good and bad, good and bad. That's why they made so many mistakes. They complain. Moses also made mistakes, with the stick, with here and there. He got mad, he got upset. Aaron, everyone, even the great leaders, they had their own journey. Miriam, she gossiped and she got, leprosy, and then Aaron and the kids, the children of Aaron and Korach and if you see the people, who in a few parashiyot before, Pinchas and everyone, if you think about the wilderness, it's like what a novel. It's an amazing Netflix series of a lot of things, starting even with the golden calf. So through all that process, through all that journey of the wilderness, remember that they had the ark, and they say, Moshe, Kuma, Adonai, right? They were declaring kind of like every time that the ark was going to open, we ask God to remove ourselves from our lives, all the enemies. The enemies, we talked about this in the past so many times. The enemies are not just our enemies and those people, the Midianites and the Canaanites and the Moabites and the Ammonites, right? The evil forces live within us. We call it Yetzer Hara, right? This instinct of doing the bad thing or the wrong thing, that inclination, And this is all about this journey in life. So when you look on your photo album, right, as the people of Israel can look in this parasha and the photo album, they were here. What is it that they did here? And they can think about it. We were good, we're good citizens, and we're not so good citizens. We're good to others, and we're good to our leader Moses, or we're not, right? How we can correct that. What happened here? We have been here for 40 years in the desert, in the wilderness. And the wilderness is a place that it's easy to get lost. You don't have a compass, right? But if you lose your north, you can get lost. So the wilderness is a good place also to find yourself. When you are alone, you find yourself and you find your real north, which is God. Interesting, right? That Tzafon, means north, and Tzafun means hidden, like we talk about the Afikoman, they call it the Tzafon, and that part of the Seder of Pesach. So you find your Tzafon, which is Tzafun, right? The hidden north, which is God. So that's what you want to get inside you, is to be there, correct in your journeys. Every time you do a journey, there is a reason. And if you move from one place to another, there is a reason. always have in mind that you can always rectify. And every place that you are, you can be a light for this world, a light in your own house, a light for your own life, a light for your own city, for your own community. You can be a light of Torah for everywhere you go, everywhere you are. That's what the Jewish people, they received the Torah, and the Israelites, they had to go through the wilderness by rectifying their own beings, who they were, correcting using this technology of the Sefirot, of the tree of life, and also using God as a north with that cloud that was always with them, allowing God to remove the evil forces, to remove the enemies, the inside enemies we have, of which we are the worst enemy to ourselves. We know that so well, right? And who is the worst enemy? We talked about this in the past. Who is the worst enemy in the Jewish people as they explain the Torah? Yes, it's Amalek, the one that we say, remember what Amalek did to you. Amalek also has the same gematria, the same numerology of the word Safek. Safek means doubt. When you doubt, when you have fear, when you all of a sudden forget, and you lack of faith, and you have a doubt that God exists, and you have a doubt about hope and faith. That's when you betray yourself. That's when the Amalekites come, from the back path, right? The same thing. That's exactly what it is. Your own doubt, you are your worst enemy. So every time now, even when we open up the ark, and we haven't been able to open up the ark so much because we have been in this pandemic, so we haven't taken out the Torah, but think about the words also of the book of Numbers, the book Vaikra. Sorry, of the book of Bamidbar. So I want you to take a piece of paper, if you have, and I want you to draw here in this piece of paper, draw the first place that you remember that you lived. So the very first place you remember living, right? That house of your childhood, when you're an infant and a child. If you remember the house, and if you're still living in the same house, good for you. So draw kind of like an architect would draw, if he was there, try to draw. And then think about, in each of those places, you can put a plus or a minus in each of those rooms, where your sense of that room was there were more of positive things happen in my life, but there were less of more or negative things that happened. There were a lot of fights in that room. The positive things, that's where we used to watch the TV, or that's where we used to have family time. That was where the piano was, and we had a lot of fun. The patio, oh wow, that was where, I don't know, I had a swimming pool, and so each place you can remember, oh, that was the room of, that I share with my siblings, and we had a lot of fun. So making the balance, it was more plus and minus because we also fought a little bit. And so try to remember, because we are going to go now into a meditation. So make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Pay attention to your breathing. You're going to breathe slowly. Inhalate. Inhale. Hold it. 3, 4, and then out. Breathe in. Hold that breath. Concentrate and pay attention to your breathing. Exhale. So all your thoughts and the background noises pass through you as you inhale and exhale slowly, rhythmically. Breathe normally now, in a very calmly and very relaxing way. I want you to visualize, if you can, the word Masai, which means my journeys. And you have the letter Mem, and the letter Samach, and the letter Ein, and the letter Yud. Masai. Now you're going to inhale Ma, and exhale. Inhale Ma, exhale. Inhale Mas, exhale. We did it 3 times. We are going to do it now 39 more times to complete the 42. Hopefully you have the strength to do it. Ma, Mas, 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 Mas. Concentrate and pay attention to that breathing. Mas, Mas, Mas. If you got tired, that's okay. Just breathe regularly and concentrate on the word Masai. Think about your journeys. Mas, 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 Mas. Just a few more to go. Mas, 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 Mas. Think about your journeys. Think about the photo album of your journeys of your soul. Mas, 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 Mas. One more to go. Mas. So visualize a mem or the sound of as mime, as a stream of water. The samach, the sound of an S, as a protective enclosure during your journeys. Samach is kind of a square letter, so everything is protected enclosure there. Reach now a new vistas, new landscapes with the eye of Ein, and integrate it to your personal experience with the possessive yud, which stands for my, Masai, my journeys. Connect with the concept that Hashem, God, brings you to key places and crossroads in life in order to elevate you, to go through crisis, to go through times, to go through sometimes difficulties, sometimes to easy times too. Now go back in home, go back in time, and remember the very first place that you lived in. Remember that childhood, the house and the home where you grew up. The first one, the very first one. And realize how this place was an opportunity for tikkun, for rectifying, rectification, for fixing, repairing, and self-perfection. Think about each of these challenges. Continue breathing and don't detract yourself from where you are. Close your eyes if that makes it easy to visualize. Think about each of these challenges that you faced in this place. Each of them. In your mind's eye, send Hashem's light to each of these challenges. Accepting that they were divinely sent in order to purify you. In your mind, you have Hashem's light. In this of these challenges and these places where those challenges happen, accepting that they were divinely sent in order to purify you, to make you grow, to make you more elevated. Allow yourself to access right now how each of these challenges helped you grow, which character trait, which sephirah, which emanation of the tree of life did they help you develop? Was it kindness? Was it to be perseverance, to be thankful, to be creative? Did it help you to be more disciplined if someone abused? To find the balance and find your splendor of your soul? Was it to materialize and stop living just in the clouds? What character trait make you grow with this challenge? Now reframe each of these challenges as being the best and most inspiring opening. Feel how it was sent by Hashem, by God, as an opportunity to connect even deeper with the Almighty, with God, the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and with the divine aspect of yourself. The connection to your neshama, to the divine aspect of yourself. And you may repeat this same meditation 5 or 9 times, as many places you've lived. If it's only one, it's one. If it's more, it's more. But be honest and sincere and take advantage of this opportunity. But if it's only one, only one. Possibly in subsequent meditations, you should do this. That means that when we finish this, you can repeat this when we finish this session today. Complete the meditation by sending Hashem's light. Just think about a stream of white light coming through you like a waterfall that is into you. And this Hashem's light to each of these places you meditated on. So then send Hashem's light to the place you lived in now. Where you live now. Where you live with your spouse, with your children, you live alone, with your parents. Whoever lives with you, in that place, you realize that where you are right now at this point in your life, it's only due to everything you have gone through on all your previous journeys. Where you are now, what you acquire, who you are, is all because of the journeys, all the stations, because of the opportunities and the crises that make you grow, that made you be more elevated, the ones that you had the chance to rectify. And if you haven't, then this meditation is for it. So clean up with God's light, white light, clean up any mess that you think that you were able to rectify, you couldn't rectify, and that you had the chance, and now this is your chance. Just take it. That's where meditations in your mind, you can create anything you want. You can go back in the past, you fix and rectify. And feel happy who you are now is part of the challenges you went through. Your journeys. These are the journeys of the Israelites who had left Egypt on the way to the Holy Land. They have left Egypt. They liberated, they were freed, their soul were freed from restriction, from constraints, from limitations, to the land of harmony between body and soul. So it is that these 42 journeys from Egypt to the land of Israel parallel the phases each person, as I said before, experienced through life. Throughout each of our journeys, we have the ability to make sublime and to subdue that forces of evil that hold us back from achieving our spiritual potential. Let us be mindful throughout our journeys and phases in life, so that we may learn to harmonize between our body and soul through open revelation of Hashem. May your journeys be sweet. May the journey of this pandemic that we are all living through, made us grow, made us be more mindful of who we are, who surrounds us. Let us be mindful and learn more techniques of our tools, of how to use the tools of our spiritual realm, so we can go through this challenge with God in hand, with faith, and always marching through the journeys with up straight head, with the light of God that will always light up our lives. Amen. And have a Shabbat Shalom. Para los que hablan español, a las 2 de la tarde los esperamos para más Conversations with the Clergy. Una invitada especial, Marcela Gomez-Bogomolni, que nos va a ayudar a meditar, a entender y a aprender un poco más y a prepararnos espiritualmente para nuestro Shabbat y la energía que tiene Shabbat de hoy con las Parshiot, las porciones semanales de la Torah, Matot y Masei. Shabbat Shalom, Umevorach to everyone. Kimcha mekor chayim vehorecha nire